So it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion of the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons 5th Ed D&D. Alright, let's continue with the new section we started last time when talking about the in-between adventures. Let's talk about some materials that relate directly to your players. Expenses. So, of course, in between adventures, we'll have to worry about a number of expenses. We talked about lifestyles, but there are other things which could take away your character's money that they might have to worry about spending. Other things that might require a kind of income for you to pay. If you own property, businesses, or you've hired on a bunch of hirelings, you're going to have to pay the salary for those. The properties and businesses will have to be maintained and will have a certain amount of money to maintain. Hireling, they need a paycheck. The fact is, as your characters get more powerful, especially after they've passed 10th level, the likelihood of them owning some kind of property increases greatly. Now, the fact is, a lot of properties can be gained from a lot of different manners. You could, of course, purchase it if you wanted it, bought it on your own. You could have claimed it after defeating some kind of enemy, routing it from it, and taking it over. You could have been granted it by some kind of part of the adventure, either by a royalty or something else, or there could be any number of reasons that your characters, or in particular one of your players, ends up with a property. Now, a book lists a number of types of property. Each of these types of property will have a cost per day that you're going to have to worry about paying, and a number of skilled and unskilled hirelings that you're going to have to associate with those properties and pay for them. So this is a maintenance cost that you're going to have to worry about, but you're also going to have to pay for the hirelings too. And you will have to pay in 30-day time periods. That means after every 30 days, you pay. Now, it is important to note that you don't have to be there to pay. Most staff, as long as you've left them with appropriate funds, can pay for you if you assign them the job for it. You can set it up to pay for itself. As long as that money is there, you can keep it going. Now, this cost keeps the property running smoothly. However that running is, completely up to the type of property. Some of these properties, when you have them, they might be able to earn a little money of their own, which will offset the price to maintain it if they're actually earning money. And you have to remember those hirelings, skilled and unskilled, we've discussed those in the PHP, and you can really learn more about them in the PHP. But as I said, you need to also pay for them and get them hired on. That's not part of the cost here. They're separate. Now, business is made to earn money, of course, and a business itself will help pay for all of its expenses, but a business must be tended to. Whether this is a direct hand or some kind of indirect hand, you need some kind of hand in it to keep it going successfully, meaning that you have to be on top of your business, and long absences can be detrimental to its effectiveness. Now, things like keeps and castles will require soldiers to protect them, to be either defensive force or possible offensive force for some kind of enemy within the area. Even smaller places like roadside inns usually have a number of guards or stuff too. Most of the time, these places, when it talks about the skilled laborers, the skilled hirelings, these will be what they are. Defenses / soldiers / guards will be your skilled workers protecting the area. Now, the fact is, the downtime, the in-between time between adventures, has a number of benefits. It helps your characters to connect more with the world and to start to integrate into it, to pursue side interests, to do things that might make them feel like they're part of the world that you're building. You can use this point in time to also keep the progression of them a little spread out. You don't want them to bunch up the levels too much. You want them to make sure that they're connected properly and have it a little evened out, especially if they gained a lot of experience very quickly. Side quests are an option here, and the fact is a lot of the events and things that they can do during this downtime can drive themselves into more personal plot. If they own a tavern, they could carouse with the locals, and then if something should occur with the locals, some kind of threat or danger with either the group as a whole where they're living or a certain individual that they like, they can get involved. They can integrate themselves into the nature of the town, of the location that they're in, using this downtime. Integrate themselves into the campaign itself. So there is a big advantage to this. And they can start side interests. Many side interests take, well, a lot of time. The fact is, side interests and side projects will increase as the players increase. So this downtime will also increase. At lower levels, downtime should be a certain amount of time, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month. As you get higher in level, where all these activities are more important for your players, then they might last even years in between adventures, where they're going to be taking care of lots of major projects and things that they're starting, major builds, major events, that they're establishing themselves as large community leaders and integrating themselves, as I said, world as a whole. They have an excuse to at this point in time. So, the book here lists a number of downtime activities that aren't in the player's handbook, because these are optional downtime activities. These are ones that your characters don't necessarily need to have, and you as a game dungeon master don't have to allow your characters to take. It's your choice whether they can do these or not. The first off is building, particularly building a stronghold. Now, building a stronghold is going to cost, it's going to take you time. The first thing I have to do is I've decided to build myself a stronghold is find a location. Now, most locations will require you to, well, either be in an area that's unsettled. Hey, guess what? I can just build it there. Or if I'm putting it in a particular kingdom or location, I have to own this plot, so I have to purchase the plot itself. So you have to purchase a property, gain control of it. But once you've purchased the property, even if you have it then, and it's within a kingdom, you need some kind of permission. Now, permission could grant from you have an inheritance, meaning you inherited the property, then you're fine to do it. Maybe you need some kind of deed. Maybe you need some kind of royal charter or land grant. All of these are possibilities that you need in order to build here. Effectively, if it's not just out in the middle of nowhere that you're trying to build, you need permission. And getting one of these permissions, whatever form it takes, might be a task. This could cost you money. This could cost you time. This could cost you influence. Once you've, of course, gotten the land, gotten permission, paid everything you needed to, we can start building. Which it is important to note, how big you're building, how big the land is, will depend on how the price is. The book does list some information to get a general idea about the prices depending on the thing here, so you can take a look at it and figure it out. And your Dungeon Master will give you the exact information using this base. They're going to use this as a base information for you. Now, once I'm beginning to build my stronghold, there are a listing of buildings. Each of these types of buildings has a price to it and the time it will take to construct it. I will then design and put together my building as I see fit. I'll spend the money on it, I'll have the time taken, I'll have to worry about materials and workers. Those are the two things I'm going to have to make sure I get together to build this. The materials will be something that I'll have to secure the need of. Once I've secured that I can get the materials, it's part of the price of constructing it. Effectively, it's not just the fact that the price of builders and materials is in the price of putting together this thing. I have to secure those too. I have to make sure I have the materials and have the builders. I'm not just paying some money out and having it being built. Now, once it's being built and it takes a lot of time to build a lot of these things, well, I have to supervise it. Now, this doesn't mean I have to supervise it constantly. It's just the unfortunate fact is each day I'm away from supervising the construction of my stronghold adds 3 days to the total build time. So the longer I'm away, the longer it will take. I have to be there to really supervise its construction for it to go efficiently. It doesn't mean it stops, it just means that the way it slows it down. They're slower and less efficient without me around. But that's it for today. So, I first started with talking about a little bit more about your in-between times and discussing expenses your characters might have. A wide variety of them. Mostly it's owning property, maintaining it, maybe a business, maybe hirelings. And I talked about all of these things and what it means for you to be paying any of these expenses. Then I talked about the essence of what your character's downtime activity is. And then I began talking about a number of optional ones. These are ones that you, as a dungeon master, give your permission for your players to be able to use. The ones in the book, in the player's handbook, those, your players can just use those. Those are the standard downtime activities. These extra ones I'm adding in that I'm going to be talking about more of next week. That's going to be the big thing I'm going to talk about next week. More downtime activities that are technically optional for you as a dungeon master to allow your players to use. You're going to decide, let them, maybe not let them, then they can use them. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can also check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. There's some great rewards there. Helps to grow and improve the channel and the Empire. Regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.